Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News at 6 starts now.
A troubling trend involving children and COVID-19, highlighting the importance of adults getting vaccinated. Grant?
A controversial petition to strip the governor of some of her powers stalls at a state board. Coming up, what happens next and what it means for a likely court fight.
A controversial newspaper ad aimed directly at GM CEO Mary Barra appears to have brought about serious change. Thanks for being with us for the news at 6. General Motors tonight making a massive change in where it spends its advertising dollars.
The automaker will put millions of dollars into what they're calling diverse-owned and diverse-targeted media. Business editor Rod Maloney live with us now with more on what was announced and also the reaction to it. Rod?
Yeah, Devin, you know, this is the time of year when media companies and advertisers all get together for what they call the upfront, where they're going to be divvying up billions of dollars in ad revenue. But that system has been turned on its ear tonight by General Motors. After George Floyd's death last summer, Mary Barra appeared with other Metro Detroit CEOs saying,
"We want to be part of meaningful, deliberate change. We'll not allow ourselves the passivity of urging others to act."
Yet Barra hadn't agreed to meet with African-American-owned media outlets, which prompted Detroit native Byron Allen to publish this very tough ad, demanding she meet with him and others like rapper Ice Cube, calling it systemic racism that she hadn't met with him, and short of a meeting, she should resign. Automotive marketing expert Peter DiLorenzo says of that move,
"It was a very bold move. It was meant to generate reaction and, borderline controversy. And all in all, it worked."
Barra's now met with many of the ad CEOs, and today GM committed to increase ad spending from 0.5% of the billions spent every year to 2% this year, 4% next year, and up to 8% by 2025. Furthermore, a GM statement said in part, quote, "On May 14th, GM will hold a dedicated upfront with diverse media owners ahead of the traditional media marketplace," end quote. Michelle Robinson is CEO of the Michigan Minority Supplier Development Council, and she's greatly encouraged by the GM move.
None of our businesses want a handout. They want the opportunity to compete and to provide competitive products and services to companies like GM. So at the end of the day, we want to create value.
And so Pete DiLorenzo, who is close to people in the industry, told me that GM had already been working on doing this anyway, but this sort of accelerated the program. And on an interesting note here, Mary Barra, the day before that ad ran, had announced that Mark Tatum from the NBA, an African-American executive, was being placed on the General Motors board. Back to you.
It's really interesting, Rod. Byron Allen authored the ad. So has there been a meeting between these two yet?
Well, General Motors tells me that no, they have not met, but there's no animus there. What they were saying is that they've just had difficulty getting their schedules together, and there is every intention to have Byron Allen meet with Mary Barra.
All right, Rod.
We continue to follow breaking news in New Boston. That's where a manhunt is underway connected to an apparent road rage shooting on I-94. State police say someone shot at a driver on the freeway near Haggerty Road this afternoon. The driver was not hit, but his car was. Police believe they tracked the shooter down to a home on Huron River Drive, but when they entered the home, nobody was inside. Right now, detectives are interviewing several witnesses as this investigation continues.
Our weather again resembles April, which is good given where we were a few days ago, but that of course comes with rain too.
At least it's not snow, right? Let's get over to Ben tracking wet weather moving in tomorrow. Hi, Ben.
Hi, guys. Yeah, you're right. Raindrops are coming, and we've almost used up all of April, feeling like some other month, whether it was May in the early parts or way back into March for some of these recent numbers. This is more like it. Some more Goldilocks weather here. 61 in Detroit, 60 in Ann Arbor. Adrian, the cool spot with a little bit more cloud cover there at 58. And we will be in the 50s this evening, but generally a pleasant evening. And then the 40s take hold once we get into midnight tonight. As we head into the weekend, we're going to lose a couple degrees here in the afternoon. Both weekend highs are going to be right around 60 degrees. Saturday is where all the rain is. We'll time that out. Sunday, we do get some sunshine working in there. So we'll look at that and the much warmer temperatures that are coming next week. If you want a sneak peek at that, the Local Forecasters app is the way to go. The 10-day forecast is right there. And of course, your hour-by-hour forecast for the weekend It is all free in your app store by searching WDIV. Guys?
Okay, Ben. Tonight, CDC's advisory panel has voted to resume use of the Johnson & Johnson COVID vaccine.
The outside experts say the benefits of the single-dose vaccine clearly outweigh the risks. It will add a warning about the risk of rare blood clots, particularly in women under the age of 50. The University of Michigan will require students living in campus dorms this fall to be vaccinated. Right now, it says it won't require staff to be vaccinated.
We just received today's updated numbers after the state said they had been experiencing technical difficulties. Michigan reporting 5,031 new cases, up a bit from yesterday. 29 additional deaths reported as well.
Coronavirus is infecting more children than ever in our state and sending them to the hospital. The latest available data shows 70 children were hospitalized just this week in Michigan with severe COVID-19 symptoms. That's double what we saw during the worst days of the second wave last November. The age group with the highest rate of new cases in Michigan, 10 to 19 years of age, with an average of more than 1,100 per day. Priya Mann has more on this very troubling trend. And Priya, this really underscores a message doctors have been trying to get across to patients.
Yeah, that's right, Kim. Doctors say if more adults don't get vaccinated and we don't reach herd immunity, more kids will get sick and end up in the hospital. The chief of pediatrics at Beaumont says he's worried about some kids developing other health issues. The chief of pediatrics here at Children's says they haven't lost a single patient to COVID. Of course, statistically, kids will recover more quickly, but both health officials are deeply concerned with the troubling trend.
Parents have a lot of questions. They're like, why is my child affected? You know, when did he get the COVID?
A staggering 1,500 pediatric COVID cases are being diagnosed every day.
A lot of the kids we see are otherwise healthy. You know, they're perfectly fine, and then they are in the ICU and getting all sorts of aggressive medications to try to reverse the process.
In Michigan, the rates of child infections are higher than at any other point during the pandemic. Doctors say there's a variety of reasons at play, including the highly transmissible UK variant, schools reopening, and kids under 16 being ineligible for the vaccine.
We're seeing more than we did previously. In terms of these COVID pneumonias in adolescents,
a particular concern is children developing multi-system inflammatory response syndrome, or MIS-C.
That is a scary condition. The reason it's scary is because no one really knows why it happens.
MIS-C affects the heart, brain, and kidneys.
Nobody can guess as to which children would get that versus which ones wouldn't. They may have had COVID maybe a while ago, and they were not symptomatic, and then boom, you know, several days later, they're presenting with those symptoms.
Doctors are urging adults to get the vaccine.
We are in a public health crisis. They should seriously think of doing it as a civic duty for the population, for everybody around them.
Now, when it comes to vaccines for young people, doctors say there's currently a vaccine for 12 to 16-year-olds that should be approved within the next few months. And there's another pediatric vaccine that's being developed that could be administered to children as young as 6 months. That could happen within a few months as well. But again, the bottom line from doctors here, if you're an adult, get the vaccine to protect your kids. Reporting live from Children's Hospital, I'm Priya Mann, Local 4.
Okay, Priya, thank you. There's now an even easier way to get help from Local 4's resident vaccine hunter, Ken Haddad. Simply text the word vaccine to 877-454-9348. And Ken will do his very best to try to find you an appointment in Michigan. If you're an internet user, be sure to check Ken's live blog at clickondetroit.com, where he's continuously posting about clinics and appointments as they pop up.
Critics are again questioning Governor Whitmer over a trip to Florida to visit her father after a podcast interview surfaces. That interview on the Michigan Information and Research Service aired last Monday. Republicans say the governor purposefully did not mention the Florida trip and 2 others she's taken this year, while the state has advised Michiganders not to travel.
If you could go anywhere for spring break, where would you have gone?
Oh, gosh, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. My first big trip as governor, and the last trip I've taken was to Israel.
The governor's office pointed us to a recent statement saying, quote, the governor did not go on spring break, and she has not left the state in over a month. All trips were very brief, 2 full days or less. closely followed public health guidelines and were made when Michigan's daily positivity rate was in the low single digits.
A normally low-profile state board is getting a lot of attention over its vote on a petition to repeal an almost 80-year-old law. That law was used by the governor to issue pandemic orders until it was struck down last fall. Let's bring in our Grant Herms. And Grant, this board normally has a rather mundane task here.
Yeah, that is the State Board of Canvassers, and normally they certify or don't certify things like state elections, national elections, and of course these petitions. Well, in their meeting this week, members were split, and that could have a major impact.
The petition would get rid of a 1945 law that gives the governor's office emergency powers until the state Supreme Court ruled the law was unconstitutional. The petition was set to go straight to the legislature, where it was expected to pass quickly. The group behind the petition, Unlock Michigan, did get enough signatures, and the State Board of Elections recommended the petition be sent to legislators. But it's also been the subject of a lot of scrutiny. Attorney General Dana Nessel launched an investigation into Unlock Michigan and the petition after videos showing a trainer advising signature collectors use unlawful tactics to collect signatures was found. This week, Nessel announcing there was no finding of criminal conduct. But the two Democrats on the four-member board called for their own investigation.
She did not find enough proof she thinks to be able to convict beyond a reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt would not be our standard should we choose to investigate.
An investigation was voted down, and later both Democrats would vote against certifying the petition.
Okay, the motion fails 2-2. Is that right, Melissa? Sorry, I didn't let you go first.
Yes, sir. That's
2-2.
The vote was praised by state Democrats and roundly criticized by state Republicans. But it also means this fight over pandemic power isn't over yet.
And that means that this petition will almost certainly head to court. There's also a lawsuit right now hoping to block this petition from going forward. And the state Supreme Court could overturn its own ruling about that 1945 law. Now that the balance on the court has shifted back to Democrats, it really could impact how and if this petition moves forward. Back to you.
Okay, Grant, thank you.
Ahead here at 6, the global computer chip shortage forcing downtime at another of the area's key auto plants.
Plus, here's Hank Winchester.
A lot of progress made in Flint, especially during the last 12 months. But as you'll see, as we approach an important anniversary in the water switch, a lot of problems still remain. I'm Hank Winchester. Help me, Hank, tonight.